What's up, everyone? So we have a older Craftsman leaf blower here. The complaint is that it will kind of run, and then it will, shortly later just kind of turn off. Doesn't idle very well, doesn't run very well, and it probably needs a tune-up. I tried turning it on, and it does. It doesn't like to go high, it doesn't like to go low. So before we just instantly condemn the carb, which, don't get me wrong, it probably still is, I want to look into the exhaust, because these do like to get a little plugged up. So just to keep it simple, we're going to look at these three things in order. The exhaust, I know it has spark because it's running, and doesn't exactly have oil. Well, at least not like a 4-cycle engine would. But we'll look at the exhaust, make sure it's clean. If that is not, we'll look at the fuel, make sure that's good and not old, because that could also be it. Older fuel just burns really poorly, and you're not going to get very good performance. And then if both those things are good, we'll go ahead and just tear into the carb. But let's first look at that exhaust. Let's see here. The reason why I don't want to go instantly to the carb is I remember this being kind of a pain. And he said that he uses it routinely, and so I don't think it's like the normal circumstances. I could be wrong. But I've done this a few times with this exact style, not this exact model. But like Puan, I think, has one, and I don't know, others. So we're going to look in here first and see if I think this has a spark arrestor or something of the sort. See if it's plugged. Maybe it doesn't. It looks clean. Let's see, can this fit in there? Nope. Okay. It's not exactly dirty. While we're here, let's just look at the piston. Piston looks good. That little lip is actually meant to be there. Okay, so let's look at the fuel next. I'm going to put the exhaust back on. I have a hope one day I'll get something that doesn't require carb work, but I doubt it. Let's take that out just to make our lives easier. Well. That, I think, might be slightly mixed fuel. You know what, let's just see if putting new fuel in there will help. The fuel lines themselves don't look horrible. And it does run, and the piston look normal. This particular can is 40-1 non-ethanol. Carry two different types, 45-1 and 40-1. 45 I put in the 50-1 machines, and the 45 or the 40-1 I just put in this where it says 40-1 on its cap. Yeah, the primer bulb works fine. Let's give it a pull. Unfortunately, you're going to have to forgive me. I forgot to push record when I was taking this off. It's doing the exact same thing. I just went outside, turned it on, and there's really no change. But it's not too difficult, just 2 bolts that come out and you're fine. So, and of course this thing is getting hung up on the fuel line now. There we are. I don't even see where the fuel line is anymore. The fuel filter is completely broken off. Yep, I knew it. Never gonna be easy for this type. How? I have a sinking suspicion we're gonna have to take this whole thing apart to get these fuel lines off. Because that fuel line is completely broken. I thought that was a return, but no, I see the return in a different angle now, and it's completely just broken off. So let's take off the carb. That's easy enough. And to put the cap on, and let's see, of course there's probably no screws on this side that we were on, probably all on this side, and they are. Okay, so it looks like we do have to take the cover back off, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and maybe this to disassemble. I'm just going to take them off and we'll see what happens. So something came to mind when I was doing this. This is definitely not a shop worthy device. I say that because, granted, I work with this guy a lot. He's a nice guy. I'm not going to charge him all that much. Believe it or not, it's more of a hobby rather than a living. So I have a little leniency on people that I enjoy working with. But if you're going to take this to like a professional, like actual shop, I don't even want to know how much you'd have to pay for this. It'd be better just to go get a new one. What am I missing here? Oh, one more, I think. No, that one's out. Oh, this one. No, that one's out too. Is it this one? No. No. Oh. Probably this one with all the spiders in it. So always one, I tell you. We have to take off the tube. Oh my god, the amount of stuff you have to do to take this apart is astounding. I knew last time I was right about being a pain. Okay, anyway, so now we have access to the tank. So we need this. let's take this and the carb to the carb station and we'll redo it. So I'd hope you'd be pretty self-explanatory on fuel lines and whatnot, but more or less, we're going to want to put a new fuel filter, take the old one out, take the new lines, just kind of measure them. Now, when doing so, you want to look at the interior diameter as well as the exterior. These are just a compression fit, so you want to make sure they will fit in the actual hole. This is a smaller one. This is a medium sized. But you want to make sure whatever line you get fits over the actual carb as well as in the tank. This is the return, I believe. Yeah, because that one is a whole lot longer, there's a whole lot more in there, so that must have been the fuel line. So I'm going to take that out, bring it back. So the fuel lines themselves could be the problem. They're sucking air. The fuel line didn't have a filter on there, so it wasn't going to the bottom of the fuel tank. It could, you know, suck air there too. So there's a few things that could be wrong. But because we already have it apart, we'll do our due diligence to make sure we get everything taken care of. And the carb cleaner is already warmed up from the previous one. So I know for a fact I do not have this size, and this is still a good one, so I'm not going to destroy that. Okay, this is coming out pretty nice. Let's just take a look at it. Yeah, there's no problem there. It's a Zama carb, so we only have 2 screws and it's not the full square. That means we need a different style of diaphragm. Yeah, it seems like there's just a lot of fuel coming out of this. I mean, I guess I didn't really drain it, but there's also fuel on the bulb. I forgot about that. That's my bad. Let's take a look at this. Huh. It's not too horrible. I'll still replace it, but I thought it'd be a lot worse than that. Like I said, it very well could just be the fuel lines by themselves. Okay, let me get the tool for this style of adjustment screw. Okay, let's see here. So let's do the low first. I like to start in an area because this is not located. The writing's here. It's escaping me right now. It's been a long Saturday. That's 1 and 2. So 2 on the low. Seems a tad high. This doesn't have a throttle adjustment, so you can increase the speed of the engine by adjusting the low screw at idle. It's not the best way of doing it, but you can. If it's obviously having a hard time, that's how you would want to do it, but you want it to run as efficiently as possible. And if it's too rich, it's going to be running slow. So is there a difference between these two besides the one I just dropped? Yes, one is longer. Okay. So I have to remember that. So the high is the short one and the low is the long one. Let us put this in the carb cleaner. We'll bring it back. Okay. No, let's do this first. These tiny little pieces everywhere. There we are. And the gasket, I'm just going to reuse it. It's perfectly fine. I'm not too worried about it. No. Let's do it the right way. Well, let's make sure I have one first. Yep, okay. Even though it's not bad, I want to make sure I'm doing it right, you know? Have to forgive the noise. Sometimes a weekend brings out projects. But while I was cleaning, I did put it all back together. Just waiting for this. It wasn't as bad putting it back together as taking it apart. Usually it's the opposite. Usually putting it back together is pretty rough. But no, it wasn't too bad. Okay, let's do this. Oh wait, no. Wipe that off real quick. There we go. And it should go like this. We have our primer bulb. There we go. Okay. It's a pretty simple carb. I mean, they're all pretty easy. But this is the out, this is the in. So we have to remember that when we put it on. Now we're good to go for the high and low. These are special little adjustments, screwdrivers. You can find them on Amazon. Usually comes in a pack of like 8 or 10 or something. So this one we said was 2. So that's 1 and 2. You know you have them in backwards if one is substantially taller than the other when you're done, because they should be more or less the same height. You said this is 1. There we are. They're roughly the same height. I mean, granted, we did undo one. Well, more 2 turns out instead of 1. So I'm gonna put it back on. Oops, and then I'll bring it back together. Let's see what happens. Okay, sorry, it was getting a little too noisy outside, so I had to close it up. But yeah, I think we're doing pretty good. Runs good. What I was doing, you saw, is I was adjusting the high and the low. For the high, you would have run full blast, then you twist it in until it starts to die, and then from there you twist it out, and then it will get really fast, and then you keep twisting, and then it will start to bog. You want to be just at that tipping point of bogging. Well, not bog, but you could hear an obvious engine change, like the noise will get different, the engine speed will change. You want it to not run at full RPM because that's pretty bad for it. You want to run just a tad on the rich side. So as soon as you hear it go from screaming to a little less, leave it there. The low, this one, it was kind of like that. It was just running too lean in the low end. It was running really because when you saw me, it was just like chug, 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 dying, 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 dying. That was actually in the off position. I didn't realize that until I looked at it earlier, because this is off. This is the low position, and at this position it was running pretty high, so I richened it up and it lowered the RPM pretty good, flipped it back to the high, went to high pretty good, so no issues there. So I think we're pretty good. You know, the exhaust is clean, this is cleaned, ready to go. If you have one of these, like I said, it could be a Craftsman, it could be a Poulan or a couple other ones. If it's just this style, they're all the same. So keep that in mind. If you have any questions, leave a comment below. If you like what you see, leave a comment. Put a thumbs up, that helps me a lot. Definitely subscribe. I'll catch you on the next one. Have a good night. Bye.